This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Franny's Pharmacy.
Now more than ever, it's important that our society focuses more on our mental and physical health. At Franny's Pharmacy, the team is committed to their community's need of being happy, healthy, and stress-free. Come learn how Franny's Pharmacy can assist you in a clean, professional environment with their expert bud tenders that are excited to educate you about the benefits of their lab-tested, DEA-certified CBD products. Franny's Pharmacy also offers wholesale and franchise opportunities. Visit their website at frannysPharmacy.com, and that's pharmacy with an F, and use the promo code CannAConnect10 for an exclusive Cannabinoid Connect discount. Again, that's Franny's Pharmacy with an F.com and use the promo code CannAConnect10 for an exclusive Cannabinoid Connect discount. Franny's Pharmacy, putting the farm back into pharmacy.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Canna Health.
Hey cannabis consumers, have you ever consumed a cannabis product thinking it'll make you feel a certain way, but then it doesn't? Don't you wish you had a clear understanding of your own DNA so that you could make informed decisions about what type of cannabis products interact best with your system? Well, now you can with EndoDNA. EndoDNA is a simple DNA test that maps your entire endocannabinoid system and then matches that summary with a specific cannabinoid ratio and terpene profile that best aligns with your unique genotype. Imagine being armed with personal information when visiting a dispensary. You'll have the knowledge and power and capability to purchase products that best align with your genotype. Visit their website to purchase the EndoDNA Collection Kit and Endo Decoded Report at endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. Again, that's endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. The future of cannabinoid therapeutics is here with EndoDNA. TaJanna, how are you?
I am doing well, Kevin. How are you today?
I am doing well. The weather here in Dallas is starting to warm up. Starting to feel like spring. It's probably not as warm as Tampa where you're at, but it's good vibes today.
It is very warm here. I always say that if you don't step outside and instantly die, then we have great weather here in Florida.
That is a fact. Well, TaJanna, I think what's good, how we can kick this conversation off is you have vast experience within the administrative HR side of things. I think from your short bio that you have a decade of experience before 2016, which is when you entered the cannabis industry and founding CannAssistants. So why don't you talk to me a little bit about your career path and what brought you to founding, a virtual assistant company focused on cannabis businesses?
Yeah. So I graduated from college in 2008. And like many people who were graduating from college in 2008, we all had our sights set on, conquering the world, coming out of college, making $3 million a year, like all the things that, crazy new graduates were thinking in 2008. I actually did my undergrad in religion. I did my master's in theological studies. And it was really just about the love of like culture and language and learning that really like attracted me to continuing that degree path. It was not at all my intentions. I wanted to go to school for communications, but these courses just kept being so interesting to me. So that's actually what my undergrad background is in. It's actually in religion and theological studies, which has nothing to do with anything. But yet and still, I thought I was going to make $3 million when I graduated from college. I ended up entering the workforce, and my job right out of the gate was an administrative assistant with Deloitte and Touche. A lot of people know them as like one of the big four accounting firms.
Sure.
I worked on the technology side and supported like a really big project of, it was probably 100 to 150 consultants and clients in that building. And I supported all those people, including partners. And it was like sinking my teeth into something that I was, first of all, really good at naturally. But I just continued to love it. Like I just kept coming to work, kept loving it. I love being the go-to person, making this crazy office, like, bringing calm to it.
That's so crazy. Like, what are the odds of somebody falling into a job right out of college where you're good, naturally good at it, and you're sinking your teeth in, you're like enjoying it, right? Like how did you know, like did this opportunity just come about and you apply for it, or were you generally interested at the time?
So actually, what happened was, we're fresh out of college in 2008. The market is starting to act a little funny. The market
Right,
crashes. Like
right.
there's just so much uncertainty. And so, in that, like a ton of people during that time, a lot of people were standing in job lines. I mean, we're at career fairs as new graduates with, very seasoned professionals who are in line with resume in hand, right? So it was so hard to find opportunities. What ended up happening was, a staffing firm contacted me. I had been, applying to different places, but it was a staffing firm that reached out to me, and they were like, "We are hiring for an administrative assistant." And Deloitte is a global company. No one was looking at Deloitte and like thinking you would be paired with something in little old Tallahassee, Florida. Like it just, the odds of this all in and of itself was just crazy. Um, but sure enough, that's how I landed the gig. I think me being naturally good at it, I'm the oldest of five girls, oldest grandchild. I watched my parents, run a household. There's a lot of organization. There's a lot of like tactical movements you got to make around five girls. And,
Timing,
you
time
know,
management, planning.
yes,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's a lot of juggling. It's, even when I was in high school, I had a car. I was very blessed to have a car when I was 16, but like the fee for that car was like, you got to help with dance practice pickup and you got to help with like school drop off, which I was fine with because
Sure.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I get to go to Wendy's on my lunch. So I was totally fine with that.
Right.
But yeah, so that's kind of where like I think that's how I ended up being just naturally good at it. I ended up going to get my master's in theological studies just in case I didn't like it. I was like, I need to have a plan B. And my plan B was I'll teach or I'll like write for a religious magazine or something like that. But I just kept liking it and I kept climbing up the administrative support ladder. So I ended up supporting CEOs and supporting board of directors and just kind of, partners, all of the like corporate things. And then after a while, I wanted to travel. I wanted to travel the world. I didn't want to be stuck in a cubicle. I didn't want to play the corporate politics. There was a lot of that happening, not just, as a person, but just as a person who is trying to become a professional in an administrative support field, which, depending on what kind of office you're in, the culture of looking at someone in that role can be sometimes condescending, to be completely honest. I always say that administrative support professionals are the foundation of every company. So,
Absolutely.
you know,
Yeah.
we're the glue.
Right.
But
And
yeah,
they you keep the
I got,
wheels keep the wheels moving, right? I mean,
you keep
from
all the
from
balls in the air,
yep.
all the things. Yes. But I really wanted to travel the world. So I started researching what kinds of things can I do because, obviously I graduated from college. I had student loans. I got other bills that need to be paid while I'm gallivanting around the world. And so I needed to continue to work while I traveled. And at this time, my husband and I have moved to Atlanta. I've gotten married in Tallahassee, moved to Atlanta, and continued my career there. And so I started dabbling, and this virtual assistant thing kept popping up. Like, I'm like, what is this? What is a virtual assistant? I don't even know what this means. It was very popular over in like the Philippines and still is. And it was very popular like in Europe, like a lot of people in like a lot of mostly women business owners. They were taking their experience, and over there they call them secretaries. Like here we say executive assistant. Over there they say like secretaries or
Well, didn't
yeah.
we didn't we call them secretaries back in the day? And then I heard that it shifted,
Day.
right? So for there's like a negative connotation now, I guess, for to secretary, is there or not?
Well, I think what it is, I think there's more of like secretary can be very gender specific.
I
right? No one
see.
wants to call like a male their secretary. So I think that was part of it as as more genders started to come into administrative work. I think they came up with a name that was just a little, but yes, to your point, I've had to tell older people like, I'm not a secretary. Like there's no Rolodex. There is no like, we're not, sometimes we are, but we're not grabbing coffee and like having, your slippers under your desk for you. We're not really doing that anymore.
Right. Like there's
And
that stereotype that comes with that word. Yeah, yeah. I see.
yes. Well, and the other aspect to that is that the skill set for administrative support professionals has changed over the years. So now, it used to be if you were a person in the workforce with a pen and a piece of paper and you can, keep notes and keep your executive abreast on what they have going on, you were good to go. Now you have to know how to work Excel spreadsheets
Right.
and you have to do some vendor management. And there's just a lot more things. I joke around with clients sometimes. I'm like, throw all the things over the fence and like watch us catch them, because how it is in the administrative support world. You just kind of throw things over and you're hoping that your assistant catches those balls and keeps them going. So
Totally.
yeah, so I started researching, and in 2016, not only was being a virtual assistant like fairly unheard of here in the US especially, but working remote was not as popular as it is right now. So we're talking about researching a lot of different things, this whole new like job that I want to make for myself, as well as what does it look like to work as a full-time employee for myself and only online? Like what kind of tools do I need and what do I need to learn?
And how do your clients receive that, right? I mean, especially like C-suite executives, if that's the clientele you're targeting at the time, I would imagine those executives would want you in person, want you in the office. I mean, I know personality types all differ, right? But like,
Yeah.
yeah, that would have probably been a struggle at first.
Well, I think also business needs. So I think, I landed in the cannabis industry on accident. Like I don't like joke about that. And I really don't lie about it, because there are so many people that are pursuing this industry so hard and they want to get in. And I just literally landed here. My first client right out of the gate was a grower. And so it became a situation where I started to learn that like the business needs in cannabis are completely different. I don't have to convince a cannabis person, a cannabis professional, that I can work remotely. For, as you were asking before, like executives from other industries, you have to convince them because they're so used to seeing their employees in their cubicle or like seeing them every day. Did they show up to work on time? Did they bring that piece of paper that I needed to my desk when I said I needed
Right.
it? Those are the markers.
Yeah, and that's where that like throwing all that stuff over the fence and you having to y'all the administrative assistants on the other side figuring it out, because
Yep.
when you're in person and going back to again personality types, like there could be an executive that is very hands-on in terms of their needs, right? And that could
Yep.
be more uh of a responsibility and more roles, I guess, within that job, than maybe as
Yeah,
say another executive. So I yeah, that makes
for
sense.
sure. Yeah, and I would also say those job responsibilities, those job details, right? So a virtual assistant can't check your mail every day at your
Right,
office, but can
exactly.
we check your email? Yes, absolutely. And nobody's really sending snail mail anymore. So it's like, you need me to check your email. So I would say the more, online work continued to evolve, but especially during the pandemic, I started to see a lot more virtual assistants coming on the scene, a lot more people wanting to know about virtual assistant work, what it means, what services they can provide, and a lot more industries looking into it. So, it was easy for me to convince, it's easier for me to convince a cannabis professional that an assistant can be an asset to their team. In cannabis, generally, an assistant is not just something you get when you join a cannabis company always. It's just not, we're not necessarily built like corporate structures. There are some that are, but for the most part they are not. Unlike in corporate, it's harder for me to convince an executive to let me work remote as their VA. It's a lot harder than me convincing a cannabis professional that they need an assistant in the first place.
Right.
And so that's kind of where I started to see the value of what we can bring to this industry. So I kind of organically kept getting more cannabis clients just from word of mouth. And then to the point where I was like, I can't do all this work by myself and I don't like turning away people.
It's a good
So
problem to have. It's a great problem to
it's a,
have.
it is. But that's how again, just like I accidentally landed in cannabis, I accidentally became a virtual assistant agency. And it just kind of grew organically. And that's pretty much how it happened.
Wow. That's so awesome. And I love how it was just kind of organic, right? Like word of mouth, like you said, you did a great job with that first client in cannabis, and you know, you're referred. That's awesome. So I wanted to ask you this. You did talk about the differences that cannabis professionals have compared to traditional industry, say executives or clients. How are those needs different? Like how is working in the cannabis industry different than any other industry?
I would say one of the biggest and most like glaring things would be that most people who work in this industry, they do not just have one job or one project or one thing they're working on. They are working on a lot of different things. And not only are they working on a lot of different things, they're working in an environment and in an industry where the laws are changing so rapidly. And a lot of times, if they are involved in their businesses within a lot of different states, so let's say MSOs or anything like that, like if they're in just doing a lot of work or a lot of projects in different states, you're also keeping track kind of those changes of, across those states. So that's where like the biggest variation is being able to keep up with all, because every state is pretty much, it's almost a different industry
Right.
in and of itself. And depending on how you're helping that professional, what ways in which we're supporting them, we have to stay abreast on all those changes, all those things. It also helps us to kind of navigate the conversations that we're having on our clients' behalf, the partnerships that we're helping them to form. Like we have to know how to be fluid and how to move around these conversations. I can't talk to, a vendor over here for a client that I have. Let's say I'm supporting a client and he has a vendor in Oregon. That is going to be different. Those conversations may be different than the vendor in California. So that's kind of where I see the biggest and most glaring difference is. And then I would also say the pace of work. Cannabis is fast, like it's fast, fast, fast. You just got to be on it.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of the word that I was going to use to sum up both of those points is pace, right? Like the pace is so rapid, both on keeping up and keeping abreast, as you put it, to the regulations that are continually changing, the policies that are being passed and whatnot, in addition to the rapid expansion and growth of the industry, right?
Absolutely.
So how are you dealing with that? I mean, you've been in the game for a while. I mean, since 2016 in cannabis years, that's like a decade. So how has that process been?
Well, I guess the biggest thing for us and for our team is just making sure, well, for me, I would say in leading our team is just making sure that, we continue to have a diverse set of assistants that can support clients. And so that always changes. So I'm like kind of always, talking to our team about changes we can make, ways we can improve what we're doing. For example, social media is like a big thing that virtual assistants do. It's something that we do on our team as well. And just understanding like how can we support clients on social media and doing their social media execution, what's right to do on Instagram, what's wrong to do on Facebook, what's the right thing to do on Twitter, and making sure that like we always are constantly staying in tune with what's going on and staying abreast on those changes. So the goal for me is just to make sure we continue to have a diverse group of talent on our team, so that we can offer a diverse set of support services to our clients, and then making sure that we all kind of stay up to speed on training and things like that.
Yeah. What would be, no, that's great. I mean, it's great to have that diverse pool of talent, like you mentioned, right? Like different
Mm-hmm.
perspectives always add value because they see it through a different lens. And ultimately that can impact your bottom line. And speaking of bottom line, from your perspective, from the administrative assistant perspective, what would be your advice to say some cannabis business owners that are just starting, that are looking to increase their bottom line?
One of the things that I say is having the ability to delegate to an administrative support professional is always going to increase your business's bottom line. And the reason is because if you are a business owner, you're focusing on administrative tasks, which they're not your specialty. They might not be your talent. And they are tasks that someone else can do. So a lot of business owners, I try and explain to them, like, there is a dollar value that is attached to the things that only you can do. And honestly, you doing things that someone else can do, you are actually losing money. You're leaving money on the table, basically, because it's taking you away from the things that could be revenue generating things for your business. And so that's the correlation to me. To me, it's like simple and easy. It's like, you got to get these things off of your plate so you can focus on these things that are going to be the growth of your business.
It's simple and easy, but when you're an entrepreneur, I mean, speaking for myself through experience, like, you can definitely get bogged down, especially when you're starting right out the gate, if you try to take so much on at once, right? Like you mentioned delegating, and that is important, because if you're so focused on administrative tasks, you're not focused on growth. You're not focused on sales. You're not focused on relationship building, partners, right?
Right.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
all the stuff that I guess a CEO or an owner should be focused on. So that
Yep.
makes a lot of sense. And going back to your point about that diverse pool of talent and being so important within, say, your own team, you know,
Mm-hmm.
tell me a little bit about your diverse hiring practices.
Yeah. So we try very hard to make sure that our pool of assistants represents the industry in which we work in, or at the very least, what we want the industry to look like that we work in. So I talked before about our diverse pool of talent, right? So my best way to explain this is I have over, 12, 15 years of administrative support experience, but there are things that I absolutely hate doing. And there are things that people on our team absolutely love doing. So we very much work in a team environment. If someone is asking me to do something with social media, I'm running in the other direction. I don't have a creative bone in my body, but we have, assistants on our team who absolutely love it. They love putting together newsletters. They love decorating things and making them look nice. I'm going to put it in a memo and I'm going to send it on its way. So we really try with, making sure that when we're examining and screening, newest potential assistants who would join our team, that we're looking at that, like what can they bring that's going to be different than what we already have, or what can we learn from them as they learn this industry from us. So and then also, I would say understanding like where we're wanting to source a lot of candidates from. So, are we lacking in a state, or do we have a client that may be coming down the pipeline that's in a state that we've never supported before? So either making sure like we find some assistance in that area who can help us, especially if we're starting to get a lot of interest in those areas, or making sure, we educate ourselves on, what's going on in those areas. So really having that diverse group of talent, but also that diverse group of knowledge, and then that diverse group diverse set of experiences as well. So like, what background did they come from? Not all of our assistants necessarily have like, they have supported an executive for 10 years kind of experience, but we're talking translatable skills. How passionate are you about administrative support work? What are some things about this industry that is intriguing to you? Because one thing that is a red flag for me is anyone who wants to join our team because they think working in cannabis is cool. That's going to wear off after a while. It's not going to be cool
Right.
when you're like helping your client and they are like operating in 6 states and you cannot like keep going. It's not going to feel cool anymore. So those are kind of some of the like diverse things that we're looking at. And then also just trying to network within other like professional groups. So, if there are groups of like Black owned, virtual assistants, or Hispanic owned virtual assistants, or Asian owned, or anything like that, where can I find more males? I'm always looking for that as well, because there's this, anomaly of men who are in administrative support. They're doing this work, but like a lot of the ladies get the attention, but we want to have some guys on the team too. And any other like genders that people identify as. I'm looking at all of those, groups on LinkedIn and Facebook and trying to figure out how I can find those people to join our team. One of the things I keep saying is the more this industry grows and evolve, the more like our teams as like business owners in this industry has to grow and evolve. So I'm looking forward to legalization happening overseas because I'm already looking at hiring virtual assistants in other places where cannabis is becoming legalized.
Yeah, that's awesome. And one thing that we've talked about on this podcast before is the gigantic opportunity that the cannabis industry presents in terms of shaping the way in which we want it to function, look, culture, everything, right? I mean, like, this is our chance to really do it the way we want and look at other traditional industries and say, well, we're going to kind of take a different path here. So, from your perspective, I mean, I guess my first question, and then I want to open up more broadly, but is there an industry right now that is dominated by virtual assistants? I mean, like where it's more predominantly common. And then my next question is like, what excites you most about the cannabis industry and the future for virtual assistants?
So I would say if there was an industry that virtual assistants are dominating, I would probably say it would be tech. If I had to guess, it would be tech. And the reason for that is they have already created in tech these bridges across, countries, and that allows for budgets and the benefits of like having people in various time zones, because like in tech you got to work kind of around the clock. If something goes down, you got to have people like ready. So you might have a team in Bangladesh and another one like over here in the United States and another one in, I don't know, Canada, like because they're just so used to always having people across various time zones. And I think that's where I first saw virtual assistants popping up. A lot of them were already kind of working with tech clients and in the tech space. People who work in tech were working remote long before we were even like, long before desktop computers became popular in every home. Like people were already in tech, kind of already doing this remote work stuff. And then I would say the future of cannabis and virtual assistant work. One of the things that I love about our team at CannAssistants is that, all I ask is for people to come with the passion of administrative support work and the interest and passion of like working in cannabis and wanting to push this industry forward, because that is what it's really about. If you're here just to like, because you think you're going to make a ton of money, or you're here because you think we just smoke on Zoom calls all day, like those are not the reasons that I want people on our team. I want people on our team who are, going to be fine if their client, lights up during a call, but they're also going to be prepared to take those notes and reiterate any action items that need to be reiterated to that executive the next day or whatever. So those are the things that, I'm looking forward to a lot of administrative support professionals being able to take part in this great industry, because it is a great industry. One of the reasons that I came to this industry and never looked back, never went back to corporate, was because of the casual environment that it exists. But it's also just an environment of hustlers. Like everybody is trying to do something great here. And a lot of times it feels like we're trying to do it together. So that's great too. And so that's kind of what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to people being able to become entrepreneurs in ancillary businesses, and virtual assistant work being one of the primary ones.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's definitely exciting what the future holds. And TaJanna, as we wrap up, I want to bring it kind of more in scope with CannAssistants. We're in mid-March right now. So what are you most focused on throughout the remainder of 2022 for your company?
Man, okay, so that makes me super excited to answer this question. One, 420 is coming up, so obviously it's like the biggest day for our industry, but we always get so excited around this time because we get to help clients do cool things that they're trying to do for 420. So I'm super excited about that. And I get excited about it like every year. I don't know why. It's just like you can hear the buzzing like all in the industry. You just hear everybody's just gearing up for, new swag and festivals and all kinds of stuff. So it's just a
Yep.
fun time. But throughout the remainder of the year, I'm really looking forward to. We had a call yesterday, or maybe the day before yesterday, talking about like how we can hone in on specific services that we think are going to be advantageous to the short-term clients as well as long-term clients. So the way virtual assistant work, at least in our opinion, is set up is that it's meant to be a solution until your business grows so big so fast that you do need someone there in person running around with you every day. And we know that there is a lifespan on the virtual assistant relationship. But if we do have clients in tech or things like that, and they do have kind of those longer term work environments that are conducive for fully remote work all the time, we love those clients as well. But
What's
it's really that,
sorry to pause you real quick. What's the lifespan?
yeah.
I'm just curious.
So usually I say like 1 to 3 years. If you are not like so big, so busy, or buying out, basically we call it buying out your assistant, but basically trying to hire your assistant full time, then we're like something's wrong. Like either your business is just kind of staying stagnant, or maybe you're still in fundraiser efforts. I'm not really sure, but there is something's a little off. Because
Gotcha.
again, our goal is to make sure your business is growing,
Right.
at the end of the day. So,
Right.
but that, like, I would say 3 month to 1 year client, like, what types of services can we have in place, or even for those like smaller business clients, right? So our goal is to find clients that are that kind of like mid-level size business. But that small business owner, like, what are some tools and things that we can put together for those entrepreneurs as well? Because we're passionate about this work. We think it needs to be accessible to everyone. So if there is like some type of small tools or ways that we can even help, the bootstrapper, smaller business owner get their administrative processes in place, what can we offer them? And so that's what we've been exploring and looking at. And we're really excited about that because we think like everyone needs our help. So how can we help everyone?
Hey, I mean, there's like I said, the cannabis operator is juggling a lot right now, especially
It's
with
a lot.
the little to no support that they're getting from, either their state, local, or especially the federal government. So we're gonna get there. We're moving forward, but CannAssistants is there to help with your administrative needs. So TaJanna, I
Yeah.
really appreciate you sharing your insights and more information about the company. Where can people find y'all's website and social media channels if they want to learn more?
Yes, you can go to cannassistants.com. That's CANN assistance with an S.com. You can follow my Instagram. I am TaJanna. You can go to our LinkedIn business page, our Facebook business page. Both of those can be found at CannAssistants, or you can just email me at TaJanna@cannassistants.com.
Awesome. TaJanna, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much, Kevin. I appreciate it greatly. Thank you.
Of course. Yes. Thank you again. And thank you all for listening. Bye.
Bye.